Hey everyone, Dragothic Gaming here. Just a quick little guide here for Dirt 4. I found that after my playthrough going through it, that the steering controls were a little bit buggy until I played with it. And I've tried to have a look online. I couldn't see a lot of resource on how to set things up more comfortably to learn from the get-go. So if you find this helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment, and you'll also have my specs and Twitch down in the description. So first off, what you're going to do is you want to go to options, game preferences, and you're going to go to difficulty settings here. And what you're going to do is you're going to straight up turn off anti-lock braking, throttle braking. Launch control is a personal preference. That just means you don't have to hold the handbrake when you start off. You need to turn off stability control, traction control, clutch override, and time control braking, as these things here are basically the computer taking over and saying you're doing it wrong. And that you can be midway through a corner and then it's trying to go straight even though you're trying to still turn. So you get rid of a lot of those stuff there, and it stops the computer all of a sudden taking over midway through doing something. That's the next bit you need. The next bit you need to do is go to input, device management, advanced input settings, and on here the only two you really need to worry about right now is the steering sensitivity and the steering linearity. So naturally this is on 4 and 50 for the sensitivity here. I've turned mine up just because I like mine being a little bit more reactive, and the steering linearity is the basically the lag between you pushing left and the car wanting to start thinking about turning left. So you turn this down a bit, it's going to react a little faster too. It's going to feel less sluggish. It's going to feel less like you've pressed turn and you're having to hold it there for a second before the car goes, oh, you want me to turn the steering wheel. So I've got that on 3, normally it's on 4. Not too big a much of change in that one there, but that's where I find it comfortable for myself. So once you've got those bits there, learn that way from the get-go, so you're not having to fight the computer. It doesn't feel foreign when you start slowly turning things off later through the game. I found myself after a few races just turning all of it off and finding the game so much more simpler to control. Alright, so the next simple thing is we're going to jump over to Dirt Academy. Alright everyone, we're back here over at Dirt Academy. So the vehicle I've chosen to do this in is the basic starter car you get into the up to 2000cc's 4x4. It's an early mid-game car that you can basically get straight up. They're not overly expensive, and for myself the game actually gave me one after I finished one of the championships, so it's nice and simple there for everyone to be able to get this car in their game nice and early. So for a sweepy high control quick turning sort of setup, I go with the front differential being loose, center diff being on to the higher side, so you get more constant traction between all 4 tires. Center bias, which gives power to both front and rear, is more forward inclined. That way more of your driving force is going through steering with that loose free spinning tires. And then just a stiffer rear differential, because it shouldn't be doing anything other than driving whatever direction those front tires are trying to push. On top of that, whenever I'm in, the numbers, are always going to be different for what the actual numbers are, because I have a tuning skill of 85, so I get slightly different increments to what anyone else would on different numbers. But the general idea of it is if you're going to go on to dirt, gravel or snow, may as well just go slightly lower gear ratios, just to get a little bit more free spin into the tires. There's very little option and chances to get up to max speed anyway, because you're constantly going around tight corners, so you may as well just have more spin in your wheels. Simplest way to explain it. So yeah, this loadout with the looser front end and the tighter back end, will give you what feels like a very controlled sort of turning scheme. You know, it's sort of slightly towards oversteer, but it makes it feel more controlled in sweeping actions. You know, I can't say that you might get the same results out of this because it comes down to your ability at driving with the controller. But with everything else that I've mentioned before, and then this sort of loadout which works for just about all terrains, slightly different for the Bitumens, but I'll go into that next. It just makes things feel slightly more intuitive. You know, it feels more relaxed. You can just get into it and sweep one corner after the other without ever having to worry about it, because the car will just follow whatever input reactions you're trying to go for. It doesn't feel sluggish, it doesn't feel like you're understeering. It'll always want to go around the corner. The next bit, simplest part, if you're going on to snow, slightly lower gearing again, because there's only a few corners really that they constantly repeat in the snow stages. All of them usually you need to stop and start a little bit because it's a dip leading into a hairpin corner, which is the game trying to set a trap up to send you into a wall. The snow stages aren't difficult, it's just that everything is built to try and send you into that wall, and it's a smaller race surface area that you have to have. The only thing I can say for snow is you want to have slightly more front torque bias, so that the front tires are pulling you directional more often, and you're still onto the stronger side of the center diff, and then the lower gear settings. Other than that, everything else is fairly unimaginative. Yeah, so that's nice and simple. When you go into bitumen in this game is awkward. It just feels overly grippy. But I found that basically with the same sort of deal, you want front bias, a tighter rear end, a looser front end, but your center, you want to have it a little bit more freedom into it, so you don't feel so locked up, because this one here will make the difference between oversteer and understeer. And on the hard bitumen, you want it to be a little bit more forgiving because you've got no issue with trying to get hold of grip. So this will give you a simple setup that won't feel like it's trying to wobble while going straight. And you know, you got to get used to it. I only like riding on the bitumen when it's raining. I can't. It feels overly grippy in this game. But yeah, so I hope that's been helpful for anyone that has been stuck trying to get their car to feel more responsive. If this has helped you, please remember to like and subscribe my YouTube channel, Dragothic Gaming, as well as I have got a Twitch channel that I hop on sometimes. Please remember to go over and follow that at Dragothic Gaming as well. There'll be a link down below, and I hope you all have a good day. See you later. Boom. Yeah. Landed. Totally clean landing. You all saw it. Alright, see you later.